This video is the first set of videos in the coordinate geometry of the circle set of videos. In particular, this video is looking at an equation of a circle with centre 0, 0. The examiner can ask you two things about a circle with centre 0, 0. Firstly, to find the equation of the circle, and the second thing is to find the radius of the circle. Now, the equation of a circle with centre 0, 0 and radius r is given by the equation x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So you have to remember that this is not in the log table, so you need to learn this one off by heart. The best thing to get used to using equations like this is by doing a few questions. So question 1.1 here says, find the equation of the circle with centre 0, 0, which has a radius of 5. To do this, the first thing you need to write down is you need to write down the equation, which is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. R here stands for the radius, so all we need to do in this example is just fill the radius in, which is 5. So it becomes x squared plus y squared is equal to 5 squared. Finally then, it becomes x squared plus y squared is equal to 25. We also need to be able to find the radius, and we can do this in question 1.2. It says, find the equation of the circle C whose centre is 0, 0 and which contains the point minus 2, 5. So a circle that contains the centre 0, 0 has an equation of x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, where r is equal to the radius. If we draw the circle, it tells us that the centre is 0, 0 and we have the point minus 2, 5, which is on the circle. To fill out the equation, what we need is the radius, so the point from outside of the circle to the centre of the circle. That would be what r stands for. So to get that, it's just the distance from the point on the circle to the centre point. So to get the distance, it's the distance formula, which d is equal to square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. We have the point minus 2, 5 and the point 0, 0. Minus 2, 5 is x1, y1 and 0, 0 can be x2, y2. If you've done it the other way around, that's no problem. Filling in the 2 points, we get d is equal to the square root of bracket x2, which is 0, minus x1, which is minus 2 squared, plus y2, which is 0, minus y1, which is 5, and that's squared 2. Then we can figure it out. So the first bracket becomes 4, and the second bracket becomes 25. So the distance for this one is equal to the square root of 29. Now we know that the radius is equal to the square root of 29 because the distance we found was from the point minus 2, 5 to 0, 0, which is the radius. Filling that into the first equation then, we get x squared plus y squared is equal to the square root of 29 squared. Working out the radius part then, we get x squared plus y squared is equal to 29. And that's the equation of the circle who has centre 0, 0 and contains the point minus 2, 5. Question 1.3 asks us to find the equation with centre 0, 0, which contains the point 3, 1. Again, the equation of the line is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, where r is the radius. If we draw the circle, it tells us that the centre point is 0, 0 and that the point on the outside of the circle is 3, 1. We can get the radius by getting the distance between these 2 points. The distance equation is distance is equal to x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Then, writing out the points, we have 0, 0 and 3, 1. 0, 0 can be x1, y1, and 3, 1 can be x2, y2. Filling that in then, we get that the distance is equal to x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 0, that's squared, plus y2, which is 1, minus y1, which is 0, squared. Filling that out then, we get the distance is equal to 9 plus 1. then this becomes that the distance is equal to the square root of 10. So the distance then between the points 0, 0 and 3, 1 is square root 10. We then know that the radius is going to be equal to the square root of 10. Filling that into the formula, we get x squared plus y squared is equal to the square root of 10 squared. The square root of 10 squared will just give us 10. So the equation that we're left with then is x squared plus y squared is equal to 10. Question 4.1 wants us to find the radius of the circle, which is x squared plus y squared equals to 25. We know that when we have a circle with centre 0, 0, the equation is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, where r squared is equal to the radius. If we match up the equation that's in the question with the formula, we get that the x squared matches with the x squared, the y squared matches with the y squared, and the 25 matches with the r squared. So then r squared is equal to 25. So then r is going to be equal to the square root of 25, which in this case the radius is equal to 5. Two more examples in question 1.5. So here it says find the radius of the following circles. We have the first one, which is x squared plus y squared is equal to 100. And again, we know the formula is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. In this case then, r squared is equal to 100. So r is going to be equal to the square root of 100, meaning that r is going to be equal to 10. The second one then is very similar. Again, we have the equation x squared plus y squared is equal to 12. We then get that x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, the formula that we have to know off by heart, where r squared is equal to the radius. We get that r squared is equal to 12. Or the radius is going to be equal to the square root of 12. And typing that into your calculator, it'll break down to 2 root 3. And that's the radius of the second circle in question 1.5. Question 1.6 says that the points 6, 1 and minus 6, minus 1 are the endpoints of the diameter of a circle. Find, first of all, the coordinates of the centre of the circle, the length of the radius, and the equation of the circle. So, the first thing to do before we answer any of this is actually just draw it so we can see what it looks like. So we have a circle here, and it says the diameter of this circle. That means the diameter again is the line that goes from the two endpoints of the circle through the centre. So the centre here would be where that black dot is. And we have the points minus 6, minus 1 and 6, 1. The first thing it wants is it wants the coordinates of the centre. Well, if minus 6, minus 1 and 6, 1 are on the diameter, then the point midway between both of those points would be the centre. So all we're going to have to use for part I is the midpoint formula. Now the midpoint given by x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. We have the points minus 6, minus 1 and 6, 1. So minus 6, minus 1 would be x1, y1, and 6, 1 would be x2, y2. Filling it in then, we have x1, which is minus 6, plus x2, which is 6, over 2, and y1, which is minus 1, plus y1, which is 1, over 2. Then you can place that into your calculator or do it in your head. So minus 6 plus 6 will give you 0 over 2, which will just give you 0. Minus 1 plus 1 will give you 0. 0 divided by 2 is still 0. Then the midpoint or the centre of that circle is 0, 0. The second thing they want then is they want the length of the radius. The length of the radius can be found either from 0 to minus 6, minus 1 or 0, 0 to 6, 1. You can decide. As well, what you could do is you could get the length of the line from minus 6, minus 1 to 6, 1 and divide it by 2. That would give you the radius as well. I'm going to take the radius from 0, 0 to 6, 1. And again, the formula for this, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. We have the point 6, 1 and 0, 0. 6, 1 is x1, y1, 0, 0, x2, y2. So the distance then is x2, which is 0, minus 6 squared, plus y2, which is 0, minus y1, which is 1. And that's squared. Then we get, by putting these into the calculator, so 0 minus 6 is just minus 6. That squared is going to give us 36. And then 0 minus 1 is minus 1. That squared is going to give us 1. So then we get that the distance is equal to the square root of 37. And that's the distance or the radius of this circle. The third part then is it's asked us to get the equation of the circle. Now, we know that the formula for the equation of the circle that has the centre 0, 0 is just x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. All we do now to get the final equation of the circle is we know that r is equal to the square root of 37, so we replace r with square root 37. That then becomes x squared plus y squared is equal to 37. Now, if we go back and see what they were asking in the question, they first of all wanted the coordinates of the centre. The coordinates of the centre we found were 0, 0. They then wanted the length of the radius, and we found that the length of the radius was square root 37. And finally, they were looking for the equation of the circle, and we know now that the equation of the circle is x squared plus y squared is equal to 37. So that's this question finished, and it's also the end of this video. If you have any questions on it, please ask me, but I hope the questions you're going to do will make sense.